Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology 1. My name is Renee Moore, and I'm going to be your instructor this semester. A&P 1 is going to take us all the way from the smallest cells to our skeleton to our entire body of muscles, plus the nerves that control those. This is going to be a great semester, and I'm glad that you were able to join us. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's go see our syllabus for lab. Getting started, syllabus and schedule. Here's our syllabus for Anatomy and Physiology lab. Coming down, we see our course numbers and term, my contact information if there's an emergency and you're not able to complete a practical on time, or if you just have general questions, you can email me at more@wgcjc.edu. Office hours are times where I'm going to be immediately available to respond to emails and questions, and that can be Monday 10 to 11 a.m. and Tuesday 7 to 8 p.m. Now, lab, like lecture, is going to be online and it's not a self-paced course. You have to log in weekly to go over the information and review and also to take your practicals. Our grade for this class is going to be coming from the 3 lab practicals, 90%, and 10% coming from our virtual labs. Students should log in every day for the first week and at least 3 times per week thereafter. If your attendance record goes down and you're missing a lot of days, missing a couple of weeks, we might recommend dropping this course for a W if it's before April 16th. Now, dropping with a W just means that you withdrew from the course, so you have no actual grade assigned to it. This allows you to take it later without having any drop in your GPA. As you go down the syllabus, we're going to have a lot of objectives, learner outcomes, and required course material. For the required course material, we do require that you get the Connect Access Code for Anatomy and Physiology and Integrative Approach, 3rd edition, McGraw-Hill. If you buy the Connect code, it does give you access to the textbook as well that we use in lecture, so we have the same code for both classes. With your Connect Access code, it's going to allow you to access the virtual labs, and this is going to be worth 10% of your total grade. There is a recommended lab manual carried by the WCJC bookstore, but since we have such in-depth PowerPoints and videos, you can get through the class without it. It's just a nice thing to have, and it is recommended just to have that hard copy that you can actually physically turn a page on. Now, for the method of instruction, this is an online course designed for students with good time management and basic computer skills. It's not self-paced, so you're expected to read all the announcements, the course messages, and emails, and log in regularly for access to the course material. The lab will primarily be conducted through interactive online review of assigned sets of Quizlet flashcards and through completion of virtual lab simulations. We do have a link here to the Quizlet flashcards. We're going to be using those to study those anatomical terms, and it also is a good model for how the lab practical is going to be. Let's talk about the lab practicals. There will be 3 lab practicals during the semester, each having 25 multiple choice questions. You're going to have a 72-hour window in order to start the lab practical, and once it's started, there's a time limit of 15 minutes. When your time has elapsed, the practical automatically closes and submits your answers. Students are not allowed to use notes, books, phones, or other technology, other people, or any other materials during a lab practical. We use Respondus Lockdown Browser and Monitor in order to ensure that that isn't being done. Lab practicals, this is important, are due at 5 p.m. Our normal lecture exams are going to be due at midnight. Our normal discussions are due by midnight. So the lab side of things is a little different. You have until 5 p.m. to complete the practicals, and you'll notice it's also 5 p.m. for the virtual labs. Failure to take any lab practical by its deadline will result in a 0. No lab practical grades will be dropped or substituted, so all 3 of them count. For our grade in this class, we are going to take the average of the 3 lab practicals. So every one is very important. You can imagine if you got 100 on your first, 100 on your second, and then 20 on your third, what's going to happen to that average? Now you're factoring in that 20%. So each one is very important. For the virtual labs, there are going to be 9 of them. These simulations are assigned in various weeks during the semester. You'll see that on the schedule. They are completed using the interactive McGraw-Hill site using your Connect Access card. You must access them through the links through the Blackboard course to have it accredited to your Blackboard. Virtual labs will be available in the week prior to the due date, and you're encouraged to work ahead, not wait until the last day. You never know what's going to come up and slow you down. And there's a little more information that you can read. With the grading formula, the lab average is going to be calculated from the lab practical average times 0.90 to give us 90%, plus the virtual lab completion score times 0.10 to give us that 10%. Once we calculate your entire lab grade, that is going to be added to your lecture class grade. If you have a different lecture instructor, I will send your lab grade to them. It will comprise 25% of the overall course grade. We have some course policies talking about the Respondus lockdown browser. Now, the environmental scans and how the Respondus is done is very important because there can be a penalty up to a 0 for a lab practical grade based on if you did not do any of the following. So be sure to read this over very carefully. Late work for the virtual labs will not be accepted. You have a full week to complete them. So a testing window of 65 hours is given for each lab practical. So in that time, if you're waiting until the very last minute and something comes up and you miss it, you kind of set yourself up for failure in that. So since you have such a large window, start pretty early in that preparation, preparing yourself in the first 12 hours to take it. Here we have the technology compliance policy. For Blackboard, the best browser is going to be either Chrome or Firefox, updated to the newest version. You're going to have the least amount of errors using these two browsers. You also want to have an up-to-date Respondus lockdown browser and your Adobe Flash Player enabled. And during certain screens, you might have to disable your pop-up blockers if you're on Blackboard trying to load something and it won't show up. That might be the reason. You also need a stable internet connection. If you begin to have any issues with Blackboard, please contact the IT Help Desk at 979-532-6568. They are the best ones to contact for any immediate help, and they also are really good at helping you with a lost password. Now, if the problem that you have is with the virtual labs, that is not affiliated with the WCJC. So you're going to have to contact them either by digital support or through their phone number, 1-800-331-5094. Keep in mind that technical issues and computer problems are not valid reasons for not completing an exam because of that large window that we offer. For example, since you have an entire week to complete the virtual labs, start on Tuesday, not on Friday at 4:30 when they're due at 5 p.m. Starting early gives you time to figure out if there is a problem, how to fix it, and make sure you have your grade in time and you're not losing points by not completing it by the deadline. We have some academic honesty policies, online class policy, safety information, and some suggestions for succeeding in this course. Here is our lab schedule. Lab 1 is Getting Started, Microscope, and Language of Anatomy. It opens on Tuesday, January 19th. For the required reading for this lab, all the documents in the Getting Started module should be read, print out the lab schedule, and take the syllabus acknowledgement quiz. Then you're going to access the virtual lab tutorial, and Lab 2 will prompt your enrollment in that one. Then you can start on the actual material. We're going to review the PowerPoints for Lab 1 and look at the Quizlets for Microscope and Language of Anatomy. All of this is going to be finished by January 22nd at 5 p.m. Lab 2 also opens on January 19th. For this one, we're going to review the PowerPoints for Lab 2 and the Quizlets for cells, tissues, and tegumentary. If you purchase the lab manual, then we're going to go over pages 2 to 20. For virtual labs, we have the virtual lab tutorial and the personal safety. All of these have to be completed by 5 p.m. on January 29th. For our virtual labs, we recommend starting those earlier in the week so you're not working right at the last minute. Lab 3 opens January 29th, and it gives us all the material to cover over that week. Lab 4 is February 12th. Finally, Lab Practical 1. This is going to be over all of the material that you have covered thus far, and it opens on February 14th, which is a Sunday, and is due by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, February 17th. We're going to require a respondus and a webcam, and Lab Practical 1 will cover the lab information from the Quizlets 1, 2, 3, and 4. Respondus and webcam are going to be required. Now, since the due date is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, February 17th, we recommend that you really start this on Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday. Start it on one of those days. That way, if you are having technical issues, if you're not able to get responders to work properly, you still have those days. Don't wait until 4 o'clock on Wednesday, February 17th. After you finish Lab Practical 1, the labs continue until we have Lab Practical 2, which is going to open on March 28 and is due by 5 p.m. on March 31st. Finally, Lab Practical 3 opens Sunday, May 2nd and closes on Wednesday, May 5th. There is no final in our lab. We just complete those 3 lab practicals in all of our virtual labs. The grade that you get is then sent to your lecture instructor and factored into the overall class grade. And that completes the orientation for our lab. Have a great day.